Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 23, Family Business. A Ferengi episode, but a really good Ferengi episode. In fact, to be honest with you, this whole episode is very, woman empowering, or woman, as, a Ferengi would say it. First off, it's directed by the guy that plays Odo, Rene Auberjonois. And I think this is his second time directing Deep Space Nine. I mentioned it last time. He had directed one show before in the 80s, and then he directed this. And to be honest, it's a really well done episode, so I don't know why he didn't direct things further. At the very least, other Star Trek shows, like Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, anything like that, because he clearly does show talent as a director. So the reason I say this is kind of a woman empowering episode is it introduces two female characters. First of all, it introduces Kasidy Yates, the frigate captain, which she was discussed in the previous episode while Jake and Sisko were on the sailboat in space. Jake mentions how she's on board and she wants to introduce his dad to her because it's been a year since he's had a date, where little does Jake know that his father recently hooked up in the mirror universe. Anyways, the only reason that this is super important is because for the rest of the series, Kasidy Yates plays a very important role. I won't get too spoilery, but she's very important all the way to the series finale. And she's played by Claire Finn, she's played by Penny Gerald, who plays Dr. Claire Finn in Orville. So she went from Star Trek Deep Space Nine to Orville. So I think that's really cool to watch those actors kind of cross universes. So I like that. And recently I saw the documentary of What We Left Behind, which if you haven't seen that review, it's a great review. And she shows up in that. So it was really cool. There's my cat Harley. So, and besides her, we meet Quark and Rom's mother, Nog's grandmother, Moogie, which, I mean, that's pretty much what she's called throughout the whole episode, so I'm just going to go with that rather than her actual name. So the main focus of this episode is Brunt shows up, who's played by the amazing Jeffrey Combs. I've talked about him before. This is his now second appearance. And Jeffrey Combs is a great actor. If you guys have never seen the Reanimator series, it's amazing. It's a fantastic horror movie series. And if you guys like Transformers, he played Ratchet in Transformers Prime. Great actor. So he plays Brunt. We'll see him again later on for his third role of Wayloon, the Vorta. And then he pretty much goes on from there. He's in Voyager. He's in Enterprise. I looked it up. He plays several different characters throughout the Star Trek franchise. He's one of the top actors. And he was also in the running for Commander Riker. So that's kind of cool. So anyways, Brunt shows up and is like, hey, Quark, your mom is breaking the law. She's wearing clothes and she's earning profit, which is against Ferengi law, which is something that goes all the way back to the Next Generation, where the Ferengi abduct Luoxana and Counselor Troy, and they immediately remove their clothes because in Ferengi culture, women have no power. They're always supposed to be naked, they're not allowed to earn profit, and they're basically supposed to stay home and cook dinner. To be honest with you, that's the Ferengi culture. And this whole episode is about how Moogie basically flips that, and she tells Quark, your father had no lobes for profit. He did not know what he was doing. And she was actually the breadwinner for the family. And she has earned a huge profit. Quark says, if he sold every asset he owned, it wouldn't even cover a third of the money that Moogie has, gained in her life. So it's really interesting to kind of watch the dynamics. And this is the first time we've actually seen the Ferengi homeworld, which the Ferengi have been around since season 1 of The Next Generation, episode 3 or something. And we finally see the homeworld, and it's so, profit-driven. It's kind of a cliche, and I'm not going to go into that stereotype, but, to use the elevator, it costs money. To sit in a chair, it costs money. To do anything, it costs money. And that's kind of the ongoing joke, which the Ferengi were supposed to be the big bad of The Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine completely changed that culture, which had been going through The Next Generation. Deep Space Nine really took it a step forward and was like, you know what? They're kind of the ongoing joke, and here's what they're going to be from now on. They're going to be the used car salesman of the franchise. And they do a fantastic job. We'll see it through the rest of Deep Space Nine. We'll see it a little bit in Voyager. And even they show up in one episode of Enterprise. So it's kind of cool. So that's the main subplot. It's a great subplot of Rom, Quark, and Moogie all kind of having this family reunion and just talking about the rights and the wrongs of their culture. The subplot is basically all about Sisko and Cassidy Yates and them trying to meet each other, which Jake has now gone to the entire station and is like, we need to get my dad and this woman hooked up together. And finally they meet, and things are kind of awkward at first, as they are with all first dates. And finally, she starts talking about how her brother lives on s03e, which, if that rings any bells for you guys, it's the planet where Arena took place in the original series, the big battle between Kirk and the Gorn species, which evidently the Gorn and the Federation have made peace. And her brother plays baseball on the Pike City Pioneers, which presumably Pike City is named after Christopher Pike. Again, this is kind of a reach, but it makes sense. You guys get it. And how once she brings up baseball, like Sisko's all into it. Like they hit it off. They start talking about like right-handed pitchers, left-handed pitchers. Who does this? Who does that? Do they use wooden bats? Well, of course they do. It's a cute little moment. And like I said, from here on out, we'll see them together. So overall, I think this was a really good episode. It was a very woman-empowering type of episode. And that's what Ira Behr really tried to do with Deep Space Nine, which again, I talked about that in the documentary, where he tries to empower women. He even tried to empower the LGBT community, which he admits, like he stepped forward and said, we tried and we failed, but at least we tried. So, like, props to Ira Behr for episodes like this, where this was something that was never done. So I really do appreciate this episode. I think it was a great episode. For those who have seen this one, what do you guys think about Renee Auberjonois' directing style? Which, to be honest with you, like, I thought it was fantastically directed, but that fight between Quark and Rom, that was a little meh. But he did a great job. I would love to see him return as a director. What did you think about Penny Gerald as her debut as Cassidy Yates? And what did you think about the Ferengi homeworld? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for all the YouTube subscriptions. Thank you guys for everything. You guys are all amazing. I will see you guys next time for Shakar.